Today I'm going to show you two techniques that will help you increase your flexibility pretty much immediately. And that is not hyperbole. If you can internalize both of these techniques and apply them to your stretching routine, you'll get closer to your splits than you've ever been within the same training session. And just so you can apply both of those techniques properly, I'm going to go through just a few basics, but once you understand them, you will never stretch the same way again. Now, our very first technique is called contract-relax. While many people think that it is the shortness of their muscle that is keeping them from getting deeper into a stretch, most of the time it is your nervous system preventing you from getting into a position that might lead to injury. If I hit you over the head until you are unconscious, then spread your legs into a split-like position, you would get far deeper into that split than if you were conscious. But lucky for you, you don't have to lose consciousness to use this effectively on your own. When you start stretching your posterior chain, for instance, those same muscles will start contracting once you get deeper into this position than you have been before, just to keep you from getting injured. Then what we actually need is for those muscles to relax so that we can get into the complete stretch. This is called the stretch reflex and is one of the main reasons why you cannot get into your split. So most of the times it's not the length of your muscle that is preventing you, it is your brain, which means that we can use that to our own advantage. And to do that, we will use autogenic inhibition. If we take our pectorals, for instance, just to demonstrate, try moving into a complete stretch, lengthening the entire muscle. At some point, your pectorals will start activating to prevent you from getting too deep into this position. However, if you flex your pectorals as hard as you can for 5 to 10 seconds and then move into this stretch, your stretch reflex will get deactivated through autogenic inhibition, leading to a deeper and deeper position. So when it comes to your hamstrings, the traditional way of utilizing contract-relax to activate autogenic inhibition, actively flexing your biceps femoris, which is pretty much the main muscle you need in a fully lengthened position to get into a complete split. But here comes the main part where many people who already understand this still fail while they drive their extended leg into the ground by pushing their heel down to activate their hamstrings. The muscle you're activating way more is your glutes, because proper biceps activation does require a bend in your knee, which means that you will first bend in your knee slightly and then you will try to drive your heel into the floor as hard as you can, activating your biceps, holding this for 6 to 8 seconds, and then moving into a completely extended position and lengthening further and further until you are in a split. So a complete set of contract-relax will look like this: bending in your knee, driving your heel down into the floor, activating as hard as you can for 6 to 8 seconds, and then extending and moving into the relax phase, lengthening for 6 to 8 seconds, and then repeating, bending, flexing as hard as you can, holding for 6 to 8, extending, pushing deeper into relax for 6 to 8, and then repeating once more. Doing this for 4 to 6 rounds for every single set. This video is sponsored by you, the viewer. By liking this video, subscribing to the channel, watching the whole thing, maybe even leaving a comment. You will do one major thing, which is adding to the Shitty Kitty Feeding Committee, which is where all the ad revenue from all of my videos go, because if those two don't get the food they like, they will slit my throat in my sleep. That is also not hyperbole. As for our second technique, that one is called reciprocal inhibition, and this is where things start getting really interesting, because one way to get a muscle to fully relax is to actively flex its antagonist, which means that flexing my biceps will actively relax my triceps so I can get into a full range of motion without ripping the tendons out of my arm. And this rings true for all of our muscles, which means that once you understand the pairs of agonist and antagonist, you will be progressing so much faster when it comes to your mobility work. If our biceps femoris is responsible for bending in our leg, its antagonist, the quadriceps, is responsible for extending our leg. And you can test this out very easily by yourself by extending your leg, seeing which muscle gets harder and which muscle starts getting softer. And you can go through the same spiel for all of your muscles to develop a slight understanding of which muscle is responsible for what movement. So if you start flexing your quadriceps as hard as you can, you're signaling to your brain that it needs to actively relax its antagonist so you do not hurt yourself. So instead of staying fully loose in both your anterior and posterior chain, what you will do in the stretch is activate your quad as much as you can and work deeper and deeper into a stretching position. And the fun part about all of this is learning how to combine both of those, because this will not only help you with getting deeper into a split, but it'll also help you with understanding how your body works and leveraging this to your own advantage. So what are the muscles that require a lengthened position to get into a complete front split? We've got our posterior chain in the front leg, moving through our gastrocnemius and soleus, throughout our biceps, towards our glutes as well as our anterior chain on the hind leg, our hip flexors moving throughout our quadriceps, all the way surrounding our knee towards our tibialis, so we can get that foot into complete dorsiflexion or a lengthened position in our ankle. So how do we put everything together into a single set? Bend in your knee, drive your heel into the floor, contract your biceps as hard as you can, hold for 6 to 8 seconds, and then extend. And instead of loosely pushing forward, you will actively flex your quads as hard as you can while you're driving deeper into a stretch. Hold for 6 to 8 seconds, bend in your knee, contract as hard as you can, and then release, relax that muscle, and actively flex its antagonist to get you deeper and deeper into your splits position. And while we're here, we're actively flexing our glutes, lengthening our hip flexors and our quads in the hind leg, putting together autogenic and reciprocal inhibition into a single set. Once you start using both of these regularly, you will pretty much be doing this automatically. And just as a bonus, I'm gonna add a single exercise that's gonna help you skyrocket this progress. The seated lunge to pike switch is an exercise I practice every single day religiously, because it can basically open up your entire posterior and anterior chain in your complete body throughout a single movement pattern. Starting out in a lunging position with our ankle extended in the back, we're gonna try and sit down onto our foot all the way. Now, if you struggle with that and if you have too much pressure on any of your joints, what is very helpful is elevating your butt for your starting position until you develop the necessary mobility to sit down completely relaxed all the way. And all I want to do from here is sit up. And once we are back into our lunging position, we will actively flex our glutes as hard as we can, lengthening our anterior chain on one side, pull our front knee out, lengthening our adductors as well, moving our knees over our toes, giving us an amazing glute stretch and a nice stretch for our upper insertions of our hamstrings. And now we're going to actively open up our upper body as well by lengthening our shoulders and arms, pulling them back as much as we can, opening up our chest and moving into complete spinal extension, holding for a handful of seconds. And then we're going to reverse by carefully sitting back all the way as far as we can, either with or without elevation, and then bending forward in our hip as far as we can, bringing our upper body towards our front extended leg, lengthening our complete posterior chain, starting around our Achilles tendon, moving all the way even throughout our spinal erectors and towards our back and the backside of our shoulders if you are really tight there, which means that a single repetition will look like this. Moving forward into this lunging position with complete extension, pulling our knee out, holding for a handful of seconds, and now we are actively flexing every single muscle in our posterior chain to use reciprocal inhibition. And then we're gonna do the opposite, sitting back, actively flexing every single muscle in our anterior chain, using reciprocal inhibition to get into a complete seated pike fold. Breathing in, moving forward, and breathing out, moving backwards. Because once you start adding rhythmical breathing, you will get a lot deeper into those stretches over time. And while a beginner range of motion might look something like this, pushing forward and pushing backwards, over time, as you progress, you will be able to open up your entire anterior chain, and then when reversing, you will be able to open up your entire posterior chain. And if you've been paying attention, you will have noticed that this single exercise targets every single muscle required to get into a complete front split. And when I say faster progress, I'm not exaggerating. You will see yourself get deeper into a split within the same workout session, and even faster progress with every single consecutive one. And if you're looking for specific exercises, you can check out this video where you go through the stretches I wish I had started much earlier, because they target pretty much every single muscle, tendon and ligament and joint in our entire body. And if you like the video, subscribe, join us. We do stuff like that very regularly, which means I'll probably see you soon. So until then, have a good one. Captain Cairo. Peace out.